Heading into the weekend, I'm sure everyone's fantasy baseball team could use a little pick-me-up. So lock on in as Matt and I provide some of the best must-add waiver wire players on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Wane.
Yeah, it was good.
You can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. Just search for Locked On Fantasy Baseball and we'll be there. If you listen on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, if you're an everydayer or a new listener, we appreciate it if you could do that for us. It goes a long way to help the outreach of the podcast. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you just hit that little bell below and subscribe to the channel. Also gives you a notification that every time we drop a new episode. And once again, if you're on YouTube, be sure to like and comment because we love to talk fantasy baseball with you. This episode is brought to you by the Gametime ticket purchasing app, the easiest and least stressful way to buy tickets for all your favorite sports teams, comedians, and musical artists. Download the Gametime app now. And guys, before we get into today's episode, which is going to feature some of the best must-add waiver wire players heading into this weekend, I need to say, happy Fernando Tatis Jr. Day. I got the throwback little Dominican League Fernando Tatis jersey on. And as you guys listen to this, he's already played. Hopefully he's hit a home run or two. But as we're recording this, it is still Thursday night. So it is technically still happy Fernando Tatis Day here for us. But Matt, let's get this thing on the road and talk about some of the best waiver wire ads heading into this weekend.
Sounds good. All right, we'll talk about my favorite, I guess. Even though Dom scooped them up behind, right out from under me, little son of a gun. Family friendly.
With all the injuries that are going on, man, you need to go with the talent.
I hear you, and I'm going to stop teasing it now, and I'm going to just put it out there. Mike Soroka. Anybody who has paid attention to the Braves, the Braves rotation in the last couple of years, everybody starts talking about Soroka. And the reason for it is because honestly, he has so much upside. When he was pitching in the bigs before he tore his Achilles twice, made it explode, he was incredible. The last time he pitched a full season was 2020 don't even count because that was the year he did hurt himself. So let me bring that back. 2019, and it was incredible. It was 174 innings pitched. It was 142 strikeouts. It was a 2.68 ERA, and it was a 1.11 WHIP. Now that was the first time he saw in the majors over 25, because the season before that he only had 25 innings total pitched for the season. So he just went in, got the full workload, was able to handle it, didn't get hurt, played a full season and really wrecked it. I really thought he was going to take a step forward, and then unfortunately he was met with unfortunate circumstances where his Achilles just decided to blow up like stepping on an IED, unfortunately. So essentially Soroka just has so much upside. The fact of the matter is he's probably a forgotten name due to the fact that he hasn't pitched in 2 years, and we don't know what he's doing, but he did have a great rehab start the other day where he I think it was he fanned six Ks, I believe, something like that. Had a really great outing, started looking like himself. So I really think Soroka is one of these guys that you probably want to stash because he's most likely going to get a call in the near future. I can't say if it's going to be now or next week, something along those lines. Honestly, all you need is Eldridge to have a bad start, and they're going to be like, all right, let's bring up the guy we truly trust the most, and that's Mike Soroka.
Yeah, it's either Elder gets hurt or, 47-year-old Charlie Morton decides that, he's done there too. And then I think Soroka's in line to get called. But I wouldn't even be shocked with all the pitcher injuries and stuff, if they go to a six-man. Because let's talk about what Soroka's doing so far in his minor league assignment. He's made 3 starts down there. That is Soroka. 1.32 ERA, 13 innings, 13 strikeouts, and a 109 whip. So he looks back to his old Mike Soroka form. And I think he just really takes the ball and rolls with it here. He's 23% owned on Yahoo. He's a stash right now. It's not a guarantee he's coming up anytime soon, but I think this is the time you go out there and grab him after he's made 3 rehab starts. As Matt mentioned, that last one was pretty good there. All 3 have been pretty solid. The Braves might handle him with kid gloves. He might only get 5 innings here and there to start off the season. He might only throw 150 innings this year, to be honest with you. But with all of the pitcher injuries that have been going on, and, I know a lot of waiver wires are looking really tapped right now. Michael Soroka's 23% owned on Yahoo. You can still go out there and grab him in most Yahoo leagues. Let's move on to another guy that actually pitched the other day, a little young buck action here. It's Mason Miller of the Oakland Athletics. Now, the thing is with Mason Miller, he wasn't really super highly touted prospect, but I know he was, he took the Arizona Fall League by storm. He was out there throwing, 102 miles an hour, and everyone's like, oh, who's this guy? And, he was dominant down in the minor leagues before he got the call, a couple of, double-digit strikeout games. And he went out there against the Cubs. I actually was able to watch a little bit of the start. He gave up 2 runs. He struck out 5. He went 4.1 innings, and he had a 1.15 whip in that game. But he looked really, really good. I think he had some jitters, coming into the big leagues and, dealing with the big league backs. There's a lot of vets in that Cubs lineup. I think they actually could have left him out there. He left the game with a runner on first and third. I think there was an out or 2. I think he really would have, got it done. I truly believe that. And, he's lined up. His next couple of starts are pretty good. He gets the Angels, and then I think he gets the White Sox. Angels might be a little bit tougher, but the White Sox haven't been, absolutely, haven't been that good so far this year. So I'm trusting Mason Miller. He's 33% owned. Once again, the guy was hitting 102 on the radar gun. Oakland's a good park to pitch in. He might be my favorite pitcher out of all the guys that we're talking about to add for this weekend, or to add for, to next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know too much about this kid because he's kind of come out of nowhere, in all honesty. But what I will say is I do like what he's bringing to the table right now. So, I mean, I guess that's the best take I can kind of give on the kid, due to the fact that he's just, comes up and just performs right away. So that's really just my take on Mr. Miller here. And before we go on,
real quick, he did have 2 starts, 8 innings in the minors, 19 strikeouts, and an 0.2 whip. That kind of gives you a little bit of how dominant he was down there before he got the call.
Yeah. And before we move on and give you the rest of the names you probably should add before the weekend starts, for your weekend starts and all that wonderful stuff, we have a great sponsor here today, and that's a ticketing app called Gametime. Have you ever tried to buy tickets for your favorite artist, sports team, and wound up being stressed out of how much of a hassle it can be? Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. That's why you should check out the app Gametime. Gametime is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hype about all your fun events ahead of you. Using Gametime app, it's super rewarding with flash deals like last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets from every kind of event in your area. Images of where you're actually going to sit, which is pretty cool. So you get to see where you're sitting in the theater or stadium. Lowest price guaranteed and even cancellation protection, which is super big. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, there is a reason why it's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $20 off your first purchase, which is solid. So terms and conditions may apply. Again, create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute ticket apps, lowest prices guaranteed. Also, we want to thank our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to look out for our episode for Monday. We do studs and duds and really go over who's really pooping in their big boy pants and who's taking it to the next level. So, make sure to check out that. All right. So let's talk about our next guy here. It's funny, we were actually a little slow today. Probably coming back from Atlanta. If you guys haven't noticed, I haven't been at my home office. So here we go. Well, let's talk about Mr. Eric Lauer of the Milwaukee Brewers. So he's actually had a decent season. He only had one bad start, and it was against St. Louis, to be expected. Where he gave up a bunch of runs. He had a 13.5 ERA. But then he comes out against San Diego in his next start, and then Seattle. Both those games, he had very nice stats. Against San Diego, he got the win, 5 Ks, a 1.5 ERA with a 1.17 whip. And then against Seattle, he got the win again, 4 Ks, a 2.35 ERA with a 0.65 whip. Went 7 against Seattle, 6 against San Diego. He's now probably going to come up against Boston at the end of the week. If not Monday, he's going to have a nice start. So what I think
is Detroit. I think he's lined up against Detroit for next week.
Even better than Boston. So, Detroit is absolutely struggling. I'm all about that. Eric Lauer, we were touting preseason how much I like this kid. I think that he's going to just provide you with that low ERA, get you a couple strikeouts, almost a K per 9, and be able to, just keep the numbers down, slip in a win here and there. So Eric Lauer is definitely a great waiver wire ad.
Yeah, Matt, you covered Lauer pretty much perfectly. I'm just going to chime in and say that he was very, very solid the last 2 years in terms of a 3.69 ERA in 2022, a 3.19 in 2021. The whip is a little bit questionable, just about that strikeout per 9, as you mentioned, but he's definitely a good ad. And Eric Lauer is only 24% owned on Yahoo. With that Detroit start coming up next week, he's definitely somebody you should look into adding. Let's move on to our next guy here, and that is Mr. Erod himself, Mr. Eduardo Rodriguez. And he's actually been, pretty decent so far this year. He's not blowing you away, but, pretty solid. So far in the year, he's actually, the numbers are not as better than I thought. A 3 ERA, 104 whip, 24 innings, 19 Ks. And in that last start is where he really took things to the next level. Mr. Erod went out there, 8 innings against the Guardians, 10 Ks, no runs, a 0.5 whip. He does go against Milwaukee in his next start, which is a little bit of a tougher matchup, but he's very widely available, only 17% owned on Yahoo. If you're in an AL-only league or you're in a deeper 15-man league, he's probably still out there floating around on your waiver wire. Definitely should look into adding him. He was banged up, I believe it was last year. Let me double check that. Was it last year or was it 2 years ago that he was pretty
last year?
Yeah, it was last year where he was pretty banged up. He only made 17 starts. But, on his career, he's a 4.12 ERA guy. He's well over a strikeout per 9. He's going to hurt you in the whip department usually. Not very good in whip. He's more of a deep league ad or, kind of juice to orange situation. If he has a good matchup, you keep his name in mind because he's, decent. But with the Erod there, once again, 17% owned on Yahoo. Deeper league ad. Check him out if you need him.
Yeah, here's my thing about him. He had 2 good starts and 2 bad starts. Let's put it this way. And his 2 bad starts were against Tampa Bay and Houston. His 2 good starts was 1, Toronto, which is nice, 6 innings and 3 Ks, 1.5 ERA. And then Cleveland, which is a pretty good team. Gave up no runs with 10 Ks. It's nice. With him going up against Milwaukee, there's about a 50% chance he either may pan out or not. So just keep your head up, keep your eyes out, and just see if it's going to be worth going into starting your Monday off with something that can almost blow up your week. But if you're hurting with pitching, his pitching's flying, literally getting shot down like flies flying into a fly trap. It's actually kind of sad. So let's just hope, if you're in that situation, then this may be a call you want to make and just kind of risk it to get the biscuit. Because if Eduardo shows up, he could get you some pretty good numbers. Just know he's not going to get the win. All right, let's move on here and talk about a closer here that we've talked about in the past. And I told you last time I talked about him, hey, he might be the guy getting the saves. And it looks like I was right. AJ Puck. He's collected his 3rd save on the year. He 2 back-to-back, I might add, on the 17th and 18th. He was trusted in the 9th to go and scoop up the save against San Francisco both nights. So Puck, we all know what kind of talent he was when he was getting ready to get called up and just been an injury-prone, flanges guy, out the butt, where he just couldn't stay on the field. Now he's in the bullpen, and I feel like he's going to be successful. The guy has good stuff. And you know what? We just can't trust him to go past an inning. So, hey, put him in the closer role, and this is what happens. So I think that he is for the foreseeable future. If he decides, my flanges, or go okay, like I'm gonna start doing some stupid things. He's got the job essentially, in my opinion. And if they're trusting him back-to-back days to go out there in the ninth and get that save, there's no other sign telling me that AJ Buck does not have the job.
Yeah, we absolutely love the big 6'7" lefty, Mr. Puck. He came over in that Oakland deal in the offseason, and they, Miami seemed super, hyped to get him. They were saying a lot of good things. And AJ Puck did get a little closer, experience last year with Oakland. He had 4 saves. He pitched in 62 games, a 3.12 ERA, 66 innings, 76 Ks, and a 1.14 WHIP. So as Matt mentioned, well, he's out there and he's not hurt. He's very, very dominant. And I think he could run away with this closer's role. Once again, as my brother said, as long as he stays on that field, he's going to be very good. And on the season, he's pitched 8 innings. He got 1 win, 3 saves, 8 Ks, 1.13 ERA, and an 0.88 WHIP. He is 51% owned, so that ownership percentage is creeping up a little bit there. He's available in about half of the Yahoo leagues out there. So if he's out there on your waiver wire, you need a closer, I would snag him up before, it's too late. But let's move on. We're going over from the pitchers to the hitters now. And let's talk about one of our former New York buddies there. That's Mr. Joey Gallo. And he's officially back from that. I believe it was an intercostal injury there. And, he's back and he's doing his Joey Gallo thing. In his first game back, he went 2 for 5 with a bomb ski. And on the season, it looks, those numbers are looking pretty good there in Minnesota so far. He gets out of the limelight of New York and LA, and he just goes over to boring little Minnesota where nobody's paying attention to him. And in 8 games for Joey Gallo this season, he has 5 runs, 7 hits, a double, 4 bombs, 10 RBIs. And he's batting .304 with a 123 OPS. So he looks absolutely stellar so far. And I truly think he's worth an ad, because even if the batting average drops, which it's going to, if Joey Gallo can just hit 250, he'll put up 40 bombs. The RBIs will be there because there's a lot of sneaky talent in that Minnesota lineup. And I truly think he's worth the ad. He's 30% owned on Yahoo. Outfielders a tough position. I know some outfielders have gone down recently too. Snag Joey Gallo. He's actually probably my favorite hitting ad that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and I mean also too, he's a beneficiary of the shift being shift rules, because he's one of those people that hit it into the shift about 60% 70% of the time. So we might see that influx. Yeah, we might see that influx in that batting average where he might hit 250. And I mean, he's hitting 400 on the year at the moment. No, 365.
304.
Wow, way
365.
off. I was right. Okay, 365. 400 for the week. So, I think that Gallo may be turning the corner just in fantasy value, not maybe his talent, just because now the rules work in his favor. So Gallo just has no problem putting the bat to the ball. It's just, fly ball king. So, let's see what happens now that he's able to put the ball to the bat and it can actually drop. But so definitely keep an eye out on Gallo. But let's move on to Mr. Andrew McCutchen. Mr. Grandpa, Mr. I'm gonna get you a walker on your way to the call. But he's still killing it out there. Funniest part is though, this is a ride the wave kind of situation, right? Because he's gotten about 90% of his stats this week. Okay. This week, in the last week, he has 6 runs, 3 home runs, 6 ribbies, and batting .296. On the season, he has 10 runs, 4 bombs, 9 ribbies, 3 stolen bases, batting .310. So this just tells me that, he's hot right now and he's doing his thing in Pittsburgh. So, he's just trying to, probably live out his final year in baseball, most likely, and retire where he started. But just do his thing and kind of have one last hurrah. So just ride it out until it dies, essentially. That's Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, real quick before I dive into my Andrew McCutchen take. I'm really excited here by our new partner and sponsor of today's episode. That is the mobile game Ultimate Baseball GM. Have you ever dreamed of becoming an MLB GM and managing your own professional baseball franchise? Well, if so, your dream has officially come true. Manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through a season, and lead your team to glory. In this game, you're responsible for hiring the right coaching staff and managing team finances, scouting and drafting players, and also managing those difficult personalities, navigating your way through navigating your franchise through free agency and all the ups and downs of a season. Ultimate Baseball GM is completely free and playable without Wi-Fi, so play on the go as you want when you want. I've been absolutely hooked on this game since I've downloaded it. You can compete against your friends like Matt and I have been doing, and you and your friends should definitely do the same. Locked On Fantasy Baseball show listeners get a free 100% boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or you can just look it up in the App Store. Once again, that's probaseballgm.com. Start your dynasty today. So let's get back into it, and I'll give my quick little Andrew McCutchen take here. Now, the thing is it seems like when this guy throws on that Pirates jersey, he just turns into back into Superman again and just goes ahead and gets it done. Matt read you off those season numbers. Do I think that they stay there? Absolutely not. But don't forget, McCutchen's a career 277 hitter. I've seen guys do it at the end of their careers, like David Ortiz, just have, kind of a bounce back monster season right at the end before they head out. And I think McCutchen can do it. I think he could hit 275. I think he could hit 20 plus homers. Don't forget, in 2021, as a 34-year-old, he did hit 27 bombs with 80 RBIs and 78 runs. I think he could do that. He's already got 3 steals on the year, so with the bigger bases, maybe he gets up to 10 steals. So you're talking about a guy that could have 25 bombs with 10 steals, hitting 270, and the runs and RBIs might not be super shabby. I think he's worth the pickup. I think he's right there with Gallo. McCutchen's 44% owned on Yahoo, available in a good amount of leagues. Give him the chance. I definitely think he's worth the chance. If, guess what, worst case scenario, he doesn't pan out, you drop him, drop him like it's hot, and you move on to the next hot hand. But let's move on to our next guy. This is somebody that I was super hype about last year, and he didn't really pan out because he didn't get to play too much, but that's Esteury Ruiz. Ruiz goes over to Oakland, and he's going to get the chance to play every single day now, and he's been doing it. He's been out there. He's hitting 300. He's got 7 runs, 8 RBIs. He's got 5 steals. I'm actually like what he does. The guy could honestly steal 50, 60 bases. He really could do it. He that's something that's in his arsenal. He's been hitting leadoff for the past 4 games in a row. I think they like him at that leadoff position, it looks like, because the batting average might not stick. He might be closer to a 270 hitter, but the steals are real. And if you need a big boost to your steals, and especially an outfielder, grab Esteury Ruiz. I think the kid, he's going to be good. He's going to be good, and he might be the new Mr. Steal Your Girl behind our boy John Birdie there.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Ruiz. If you remember, if we want to watch back on that episode where we, put a guy on your watch list, this is one of those people that, bing, 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 you definitely wanted to add because he's performing right now. And I really do like what he's doing. And I really knew that this wasn't his story would happen over the last season. I think they were just trying to tout him to get him to move around and put him in a trade to go get Juan Soto and then move him again to the A's somehow in shape or form. So Ruiz is definitely moving up my priority list in terms of who I'm adding. Ruiz is going to be great this year, but let's move on here. Somebody that, is in a position.
Real quick, he's 42% owned on Yahoo. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but 42% owned on Yahoo for Mr. Ruiz.
All right, let's move on to Mr. Jorge Soler. He's actually doing pretty good, 22% owned. Over the last week, he already has 2 runs, a home run, 2 ribs, and batting .429, and this is Thursday night when we're recording. So, this is not including tomorrow's. Well, he's not playing today, so tomorrow he'll show off a little bit. But, the guy's doing good. In the last 2 weeks, he has 5 runs, 2 bombs, 4 ribs, batting .273. This is great. Batting average off the waiver wire is key. That's one of my sayings. You'll start hearing me say it more as we get later into the season when all the early guys have popped and they're off the waivers. Soler is going to have plenty of opportunity to get the at-bats and probably going to get a little opportunity with Jazz. So, things are going to be good. So I really like Soler at this point, especially with outfield being so hurt for the guys that have hurt Stanton's and everybody else. He's a nice ad at least to buy you some time until like Stanton or somebody comes back.
Yeah. Matt, you did pretty good there with Soler. I'm just going to chime in and say this. Matt, as you would say, he's kind of a flanges guy. And if you guys aren't familiar with flanges, just it's a little term that, Matt came up with, and it's kind of stuck about an injury-prone guy, hence Adalberto Mondesi or Byron Buxton type. And Mr. Soler has that long career of not playing too much. But let's talk about when he was good. In 2019, I know it was the bouncy ball, but he hit 48 home runs. He had 265, 117 RBIs. Oh, excuse me. Okay, I got a sneeze coming on. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, excuse me. But as I was saying, Soler, monster 2019. 2020, he was all right. He had 8 bombs and, he hit 228. But then in 2021, came back again, 149 games, 27 bombs, 70 RBIs. He had 223, which isn't great, but the power was there. Last year, the Mr. Flanges back spasms, pelvis inflammation, just a whole bunch of crap that, that held him out. So, Soler has almost 30 home run power. The runs and RBIs might not be great on that Miami team, but, he's a career 242 hitter. So he could hit around 240 with 30 bombs, maybe 70 RBIs, maybe 60 runs, 65 runs. It's not going to hurt you at the end of the day. And once again, if you're in one of those deeper leagues, Jorge Soler is only 22% owned. So you can go out there, get him for $3.99 in almost every single league. If you need a little bit of power, because he really hasn't even really started showing too much power. He does have 5 bombs, but once again, 30 plus homer upside off the waiver wire right now. I think that's definitely something you could, at least give him the chance there until he gets hurt. But we got one more guy for you here, and that's one of my personal boys. We might have talked about him a little bit on the show before, and that's Edouard Julien of the Minnesota Twins. He got the call a little while ago, and he hasn't been fantastic so far. He's been all right. 7 games, 22 at-bats, 4 runs, 5 hits. 2 of those are home runs, 3 RBIs. No steals on the board for him yet, and he's only hitting 227. This is a little bit more of a preemptive ad, right? Because let's talk about last year with Bobby Witt and Julio Rodriguez and even Vinny Pasquantino, the Italian breakfast. They all started off slow. They all didn't come out like a house on fire and just absolutely dominate. It took them a little bit of time to adjust to big league pitching. And it looks like Julien is slowly doing his thing. On April 19th, he did go 3 for 4 with 2 runs, a home run, 2 RBIs. And he's been hitting near the top of that lineup more often than not. He's hit leadoff 3 times. He today, as a recording, he hit 3rd. He hit 5th on April 9th. So he's a guy that's going to be near the top of that lineup. They're getting Gallo back. Correa is starting to pick it up a little bit. Who knows? Royce Lewis might be returning in a month or 2. So there's a lot of upside there for that Minnesota team. He plays second base, which is a tough position to fill. Once again, that's Edouard Julien of the Minnesota Twins, 10% owned on Yahoo. He's definitely at least worth a little chance.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst that happens? I mean, second base is kind of short, and Milwaukee's just moving and grooving right now, so I'm kind of all about it. So, check out Edouard Julien. What's the worst that happens? You drop him in like a week. Is what it is. Dom, take it away, bro.
Yes, sir. And I did want to throw out there, if you stuck around this long, you probably even know this right now. Max Scherzer gets that little 10-game suspension after the whole sticky stuff fiasco. He swore on his kids that it wasn't anything but rosin and sweat. But who knows that? Who knows what was going on out there? I will say this: the umpire Phil Cuzzi that threw him out has had the only 3 pitchers thrown out since the rule's been implemented. So maybe Phil Cuzzi just has he's a little bit stricter than most of these umpires out there. But with that being said, guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Check out our website if you already haven't. Have some information about us, access to all of our episodes. We're going to try and keep up with, maybe writing some articles and, posting our waiver wire ads for the, weeks on there. And, thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. That goes for our everydayers, and it goes for all of our new listeners. We truly appreciate you all equally. And if, you're a fan of us, we're a fan of you. And guys, that is all until Monday, where we'll be doing a sort of studs and duds, weekend recap, weekly recap type of ordeal. So guys, until then, see you.
Peace.